Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And today back at my campsite, and I'm answering a question from another viewer, but on a different angle of life today, not about sartorial matters, but more about how we gain fulfillment from our employment. And you'll understand where this is going when I tell you that Dean has written to me and said, I am very much interested in a video about income sources. I'm 41, and if I could stop work tomorrow, I would. I feel somewhat unfulfilled in my current job, and I'm looking for opportunities to expand my professional journey. Well, Dean, thank you for your comment, and ultimately, thank you for your honesty. Feeling unfulfilled in work is something that many people experience. I know I did, particularly when you're approaching the midlife point. When things, you're 41, it's a fabulous age. I remember being 41. It was the peak of my life. Now I look back on it, as a 55-year-old. And but things start to change in the way that life reveals itself to you around that age. You probably have a little bit of seniority in the workplace. You're probably not so fueled by the ambition which you did when you were somewhat younger. Maybe you've got a family. Maybe you have young children, aging parents. The responsibilities of life outside of the workplace are starting to bear down on you. And you realize that work isn't everything, and that there are other things which play a much bigger part than your employment in your life journey. However, that said, 41 is a great age to pivot. To be honest, you can pivot at any age. I was 50 when I changed the way that I looked at my professional working life, and I'll tell you about my journey at the end, because I've written a bit of a sort of biography of how I pivoted from being in a standard, ordinary, everyday job to having a number of different income sources which make up my life, my living as it does today. But being 41, you're at a great age, because when we think about income sources and how we generate our money to live by today, things are changing. When I started in the workplace, we used to think of one employer, one income stream, and one job, because you would likely get a job that would last you a lifetime. That's all gone, right? Jobs are much more transient. They might be for a number of years. There might be a stepping stone into something else. Might be new career paths opening up that you'd never anticipated before. So we're much more fluid in the way that we think of employment and we think of income streams. And let's be honest, in this day and age, an era in which a lot of change is taking place in the workplace, in society, having one single income stream can be seen as a little risky, because if something happens in that profession, in that job, it's no longer a viable income source for you. Maybe a new piece of technology comes along and makes what you were doing redundant. Artificial intelligence is putting so many people out of a job these days because the way that we work is changing. Sometimes it's useful to have some diversification in the way that you generate your money. And it can be valuable to have those multiple income streams which increase your freedom, because it allows you to maximize your free time, more time doing the things that you want to do with the people that you want to spend time with. It allows you to maximize your skills and your abilities, maybe more so than the rigidity of working in one lane of employment. So there's lots of good reasons to think about diversifying and having multiple income streams than just doing the one job, one paycheck type of thing. So today I've got 4 actionable tips which will help you maybe build those multiple income streams that you would seek to bring into your life, which may bring you greater fulfillment in your professional journey. I know this is the case because I did it. I am the test case, the experiment here. Now, my path might be different to others. I've done things which are maybe somewhat unusual, but everybody has got something which is somewhat unusual in their backpack that they can bring out and create into an income stream. So the first thing I want to talk about is really about you. It is about auditing your skills and your interests, and ask yourself, what do I do well? What do I enjoy doing? What is the thing that people come up to me in my workplace, in my social life, and they ask for my help with? Now, if you can ask yourself those questions, whether it's your hobbies, your professional expertise, however you answer those questions, right? You are looking at avenues in your life which can be monetized. Because if you are, good at teaching, consulting, mentoring, you may be very well versed in digital products. You might have, skills in areas musically, creatively, areas which for you up to this point have merely been a hobby. They are routes which can be monetized. My own example is a good one, right? So when I worked in my professional life, part of that made me give professional presentations, briefings to people, basically public speaking. And I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that I'm good at it, but I enjoyed it. And I really found pleasure in delivering public presentations to people. So when I pivoted and was looking for another income stream, I decided, well, I can use that enjoyment of public speaking and turn it into professional public speaking. I created a portfolio of after-dinner talks on subjects which I enjoyed talking about. And every year I send that brochure of public talks to clients, like conferences, after-dinner speaking groups, luncheon groups. I must have got hundreds of clients on my books who I write to every year. I tell them any new talks which I've created. I remind them that I'm, somebody who they can book for these presentations. And I give literally dozens, maybe hundreds of paid speaking engagements per year around the country, sometimes locally, sometimes far away in London. And I derive a modest little income source from giving professional speaking sessions, after dinner talks, conference keynote speeches, things of that nature. And even following on from that, using again that as a monetizable skill, I became a funeral celebrant. This is where I lead funeral services for people who don't wish to have religious ceremonies at end of life situations. And I used a skill that I had and turned it into a fairly steady, fairly lucrative income stream with very little effort at all. So my action tip for you is this: get a sheet of paper and write 2 columns. Skills that I have and things that I enjoy. And write down the skills that you have. Maybe it's your professional skills. You're good at creating digital things. Or maybe it's you're good at speaking, or you're good at sport, or physical training, or blah, blah, blah. You name it, you write them all down. Then you write down the things that you really enjoy in life. And what we're looking for here is a bit of an overlap. So the things that you enjoy and the things that you're good at, or fairly good at, they become a monetizable income stream. Of course, then we've got to think how we can turn those skills into potential income. But just knowing those monetizable skills that we have is the next step to us gaining a passive or active income stream in addition to our working life. Now, my next little tip for you is, remember, right, when we're on this journey to creating other income streams, so side gigs, we don't have to go all in at the beginning. We can actually dip our toe in and try a few little things. So my tip for you here is simply this: create a small online experiment of a monetizable potential income stream in the next month. So all you've got to do is, we've done our audit, right? We know what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we enjoy doing, something potentially that we can do to earn money. Remember, the internet has utterly leveled the playing field for all of us in this last generation. Now we can do things online, whether it's selling things on eBay, giving webinars of the skills that we have, getting it out there, using our skills. It can be, what am I doing right now? I have a YouTube channel, which is me talking at a camera, which generates the majority of my financial income. at this stage of my adult life. So it is remarkable that something as simple as this can pay my bills and keep me in the lifestyle to which I am accustomed, which is quite modest, I'll have you know. But the simple thing I'm suggesting here is that you can do this too. Experiment. You know, if you think you have a skill of maybe buying something cheaply in auctions and selling them high somewhere else, give it a try. You know, a simple actionable tip. Just do it for a month. Set something up. Give it a go. Give it a try. See how you feel at the end of it. If it's fallen flat on its face, it's a valuable lesson. We've learned that that's not going to be a potential income stream for us. But if we've done something, given an experiment, you know, we've bought things, sold things, started a YouTube channel, done something, done a vlog online, or got readers and potential, you know, monetization avenues to pursue. If we're feeling good about it after a month, we're heading in the right direction. And what have we risked? Nothing at all. It's merely an experiment. Now, my next tip for you is not really about taking those skills and monetizing them. It is about the mechanics of what will allow us to look at these extra income streams which may be at our disposal. Because let me tell you, freedom often starts with a financial buffer. And that's what we're looking for. We want to get 3 to 6 months of living expenses in our back pocket before we start taking any risks. Because when you've got that, when you're feeling secure, you know perhaps you want to try something, maybe go part-time in work so you can put more time into your YouTube channel or into your buying and selling or auctioning or whatever it is that you're planning on doing, right? Having 3 to 6 months in the back pocket is valuable. It gives us a sense of confidence that we can try something. We can take a bit of a risk. And as we all know, the best things in life normally comes from a managed risk at the outset. Now, when we're building that buffer, it's the boring stuff, all right? It is literally about saving a little bit. Do a bit of streamlining in your current life. If you think to yourself, well, there's no way I can slip 3 to 6 months of, living expenses away, then maybe we need to have a chat about where our money is going. Think about things like your car payments. Do you really need to have such an expensive, fancy car? Can you streamline your car and save half that money that you're spending on car payments? Think of other small domestic things. All the streaming channels that we all have. I mean, I must be paying for about 4 different streaming services on my television. Do I need that? No. Do I watch them all? No. I could halve them or maybe drop them down to just the one favorite one and save myself 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds a month. And that money can all be going into my little buffer zone. We can cut back on the non-essentials in life. The things like going out, boozing, gambling, those little things which we take for granted but ebbs away our finances. Because when we've got that buffer, when we've reviewed our finances and we've made a few simple little nips and tucks, and we've got that money in the back pocket, the buffer, the 3 to 6 months, then we are really in a position to start thinking about investing a bit more time, a bit more effort, a bit more of our brain into those activities which could actually grow into the income streams which will give us fulfillment and freedom from the unfulfilled life that we're living at the moment. Now, my final tip for you is relatively easy to achieve, but it can bring you a lot of rewards. And that is to surround yourself with people who are doing or have done what you want to do in the future, because they hold the knowledge and the skills that you want to tap into. Because let me tell you, I think isolation kills ambition. If you're left on your own, you know the old adage, right? Sloth and apathy are what will follow the man who doesn't has the impetus to follow his dreams. So basically, if you can ensconce yourself within some communities who are doing what you want to do, you're going to learn. You're going to build relationships and friendships and gain knowledge, skills and expertise which will help you achieve your goals. Now, how you do that? Well, there are any number of ways. In the virtual world, of course, it could be something as simple. Step 1, follow 2 or 3 creators who are sharing information on what you think could be viable additional income streams in your future life. They may be, there's many YouTube channels on practically every subject. And there are folks out there who will happily share with you as online mentors what they are doing in their lives. Just follow their channels, follow their social media platforms, their LinkedIn pages, and all of these pieces of skill and information which are out there for us to harvest, that low-hanging fruit, without making any effort. And then when it comes to the physical world, right, quite aside from the online world, which are great resources, but it's not the same as physically speaking to people, have a look in your community. Is there a chamber of commerce? Is there a group of professionals? Here in the UK, there is an organisation called Probus, Professional Businessmen's Group, which are basically full of people who've had successful business lives. Now, many are retired, true, but if you get involved with a group like that, you've got a room full of mentors who can share skills and pop you in the right direction. And remember, you don't have to quit your job and take that big gamble and just see what happens with your side gigs. Do it gradually, incrementally, holistically. Just put a bit of your energy and your effort into these other jobs, income streams, side gigs, whatever you want to call it, as you go along. The ones which are successful, follow those. The ones which aren't, you pivot away from them. And then as they grow and gain strength and popularity and bring you money in, you can perhaps amend your full-time job. Go part-time, drop a few hours, so you can put more hours in here. And as you grow your future path in this direction, you can slow this one down and transition into your new life. Now, as I promised, I'll just tell you my own journey. Unconventional, but it worked for me. So my professional working life, when I left school, I went into the armed forces, the military, did that for 10 years. Then I went into law enforcement. I was a police officer for 23 years, which took me up to the age of 50, when I was able to access my professional pension. So I retired from my professional job and I took a full-time job for 2 years. Now, during that 2 years, I knew I didn't want to do that long term. I wanted to move into the world of part-time work and a few different income streams, which all brought me individual pleasurable experiences, but also generated income. So whilst I was working full-time, I started growing my other little businesses. A couple of hours here, a couple of hours there, and it just naturally grew as I did those things. After 2 years, I was lucky, right? I had the financial buffer of having that professional pension from my previous job going to be with me for the rest of my life. So I was able to give up my full-time work and took a number of part-time jobs. So I worked part-time for a charity, actually organising and coordinating charity activities for a particular region here in the UK. I also started working for another charity as a well-being trainer, just occasional contract work. And then I grew my other businesses, YouTube, funeral celebrancy, professional speaking. And as they grew and grew, I gave up one of the part-time jobs, one of the charity jobs which I had, so I could invest more time into YouTube, into my professional speaking businesses. And now I've come to a point, some 5 years down the road, where my little side gigs generate more money altogether than I was earning full-time working as, a full-time police officer. So I've actually achieved that goal of having a number of different income streams, generating a better living for me than I was managing with one large full-time job. Now, I admit I am fortunate that I always had that professional pension as my safety net, because if any of my jobs went bad, I would still have some money coming in which would underpin my future life. So you've got to cut your cloth depending on your own circumstances. But hopefully, I've given you some ideas here. And I would say, remember, it's always a balancing act. Even to this day, I'm still fine-tuning where I apportion my time. I'm reducing the amount of effort I put into certain parts of my life because either I don't enjoy them so much or they don't generate enough money, and I'm putting more effort into other parts of my life which I know will be more fruitful and more enjoyable. It never ends. It's a fine-tuning experience, but it's an enjoyable one. And I have to say, it has brought me far more fulfillment than my professional job ever did. So it's worth thinking about. But like everything, you have to throw the dice. You have to take a risk. And I hope with the actionable steps I've offered here today, it'll make that somewhat less intimidating to do. Now, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. And you can ask me a question too. All you have to do, drop it into an email or drop it into the comment section on any of the topics which I like to cover here. Remember, Uncle Ash will offer you my observations if nothing else. And that's all I can do. And if you'd like to even get more access to my thoughts and experience my backstory as well, you can become one of my patrons. In the show notes below, you will find a link to my Patreon page, and for a tiny monthly fee, you will access the extra exclusive material which I create every week just for my patrons. And you get one-to-one access with me should you want it. So, until the next time, think about what could be more fulfilling in your life. And I'll see you again very soon.
I'm tired of waiting. How long have I been waiting here to hear the sound of your